Okay, imagine this. Just for a moment, I want you to feel like you're floating.
Right.
You are suspended, thousands of feet up in the air, just drifting among the clouds.
Okay, I'm with you.
But you aren't just flying, you are sitting in the absolute lap of luxury.
Ah, okay.
You can smell the expensive cigar smoke mixing with that crisp, high-altitude ozone.
Yeah.
You're surrounded by the cream of high society. We're talking ladies in fine silk dresses, gentlemen in tailored suits. Crystal glasses are clinking as toast after toast is made.
You're setting a scene.
You are aboard the IFS Zephyr.
And if you know anything about the setting of Arcanum, you know the Zephyr isn't just a vehicle. It is. It's a statement.
It's a statement, exactly.
It's the marvel of the age. A dirigible that represents the absolute pinnacle of, well, human technology and, frankly, hubris.
Hubris is the perfect word for it.
It is the Titanic of the skies.
It is. It feels safe. It feels completely untouchable. You're looking down at the Stonewall Range below, and it looks like a set of jagged teeth just waiting to chew you up. But you don't care.
Why would you?
You're the master of the air. And then the sound changes. It stops being that reassuring sort of rhythmic hum of the dirigible's propellers. It starts being a drone, an angry insect-like buzzing.
Which is the sound of the world changing in that instant.
It is. You look out the reinforced glass, you're expecting maybe a bird or a storm cloud or something. Instead, you see the impossible.
Monoplanes.
Monoplanes. Heavier than air flying machines. In a world of balloons and blimps, these things shouldn't even exist yet.
I'm not even on the drawing board, really.
They are sleek, they are fast, and they're darting around the slow-moving Zephyr-like sharks. And then you see the pilots.
Which is where the fantasy element crashes literally into the industrial element.
Yes.
Because these aren't human test pilots. They're not daring aviators.
Not at all.
They are half ogres.
Right. Massive, brutish creatures piloting cutting-edge fighter planes. Before your brain can even process that contradiction of half ogres in cockpits, the sky just lights up.
Tracers.
Tracers. Bullets are tearing through the gas bag. The luxury, the wine, the safety, it all just turns into fire and screaming metal in seconds.
And then the fall.
Crash land. Hard. And when you finally crawl out of the wreckage, surrounded by the burning remains of that high society, you realize something.
You're the only one.
You were the only one walking away.
And just like that, the curtain rises. But, and this is the key, the curtain doesn't rise on a traditional fantasy adventure.
No.
It rises on a crime scene.
That is the hook. That is how we enter the world of Arcanum, of Steamworks and Magic Obscura. But today, we're not just recapping the plot of a classic RPG. We are treating this deep dive like what it really is.
Which is?
A noir mystery. A police procedural set in a world where elves and orcs exist right alongside revolvers and steam engines. Because when you strip away the fireballs and the orcs, what you have left is a detective story.
I think that is the perfect lens for this. Because the protagonist, the living one, as the religious folks immediately start calling you, is thrust into the role of a private investigator from the very first minute.
Immediately.
You're not starting a war or finding a magic sword. You're following a paper trail. You are connecting the dots of a conspiracy.
Precisely. Today, we're going to be unpacking the narrative arc known as Episode 4 of Steam and Sorcery narrative. Our goal is to untangle the first half of the main quest.
It's real tangled web, too.
Oh, it is. We're going to follow the breadcrumbs from that dying passenger at the crash site all the way to a global conspiracy involving industrial tycoons, necromancers, and entire civilizations that supposedly just vanished into thin air.
And we are going to look at why this specific chain of events is so masterfully crafted. We've got sources ranging from the game's original design documents, player lore archives, and even the dialogue trees themselves to reconstruct the why behind the what. We're going to look at the sociology of a city like Tarant, the theology of the dwarves, and the core metaphysics of why magic and steam engines just cannot get along.
Okay, so let's go back to that crash site. You're the survivor. You're standing there, sit on your face, looking at all this wreckage. You find a survivor, a gnome.
Barely alive.
He's dying. And with his absolute last breath, he shoves a silver ring into your hand and whispers something. Something cryptic about the boy and a great evil that's coming to destroy everything. Then he dies.
Now, if this were Lord of the Rings.
Oh, yeah, that ring would be the source of all evil. It would start glowing. It would be whispering to you in your sleep.
You'd have a 9-book quest to a volcano to throw it in.
Exactly. But this is Arcanum. The ring is just a ring. It's a piece of jewelry.
It's not a magical artifact of doom. It is a piece of evidence. It's a MacGuffin, sure, but it drives a detective story, not a grand magical quest.
That's a great way to put it.
It tells you who made it and who it might belong to. And that immediately shifts the genre from high fantasy to, like you said, Victorian War.
And like any good piece of evidence, it has markings, initials, GB, and an inscription on the inner band, P. Schuyler and Sons.
A manufacturing stamp?
Yeah, basically.
Which grounds the fantasy in this industrial reality.
Mm-hmm.
In most RPGs, you identify an item by casting a detect magic spell on it.
Right.
Here, you identify it by reading the receipt.
But before we leave the crash site and head off to the big city, we have to talk about the body.
Preston Radcliffe.
The gnome.
Or was.
Ah.
The first twist. And it's a truly heartbreaking one if you actually understand the lore behind it.
So you start investigating. You look closer at the body, or maybe you talk to people later on who knew him, or if you're playing a character with, say, medical expertise who can examine the corpse.
You notice discrepancies.
You realize Preston Radcliffe wasn't a gnome at all. He was Stenner Rockcutter, a dwarf.
And this isn't just a simple case of, oh, he was short, so he looked like a gnome. Stenner Rockcutter did something absolutely unthinkable to pull off this disguise.
He shaved his beard.
He shaved his beard.
To the average person, or, the average listener, that sounds like a standard part of a disguise, like putting on a fake mustache, but in reverse. But you're telling me this carries a lot more weight.
It carries an immense, almost spiritual weight. To understand this, we have to look at the dwarven philosophy of stone and shape.
Okay, break that down for us.
In Arcanum, dwarves believe their entire existence is defined by these two core concepts. The stone is their endurance, their history, their connection to the earth itself. It's their past.
Their foundation.
Their foundation, exactly. And the shape is their culture, their clan, their identity. It's who they are in the present. And the beard. The beard is the physical manifestation of the shape.
So it's not just a fashion choice. It's not just facial hair.
Absolutely not. For a dwarf to shave his beard is a massive, massive cultural taboo. It is essentially social suicide.
Wow.
It's traditionally a punishment reserved for the absolute worst crimes imaginable. We're talking oath-breaking, kinslaying, that level of evil.
So what does that mean for a dwarf without one?
A dwarf without a beard has no clan, no honor, no past, and no future. He is, for all intents and purposes, dead to his people.
So it's akin to culturally cutting one's own throat.
Yes, that's a perfect analogy. It signifies a total and willing loss of identity. Stenner Rockcutter didn't just want to look like a gnome to slip past a checkpoint. He was willing to fundamentally destroy who he was to hide.
That immediately begs the question, though. Hiding from who? What could be so terrifying that it's worth that sacrifice?
The Malachian Hand. These are the assassins we see hunting the player throughout the game.
Ah, right.
They were hunting Stenner. He knew that if he was identified as a dwarf of the Black Mountain clan, he was a dead man. So he broke his own shape, he erased himself to try and deliver a warning to the world.
That sets the stakes incredibly high right from the jump. This wasn't some casual courier mission he was on.
Not at all.
This was a man sacrificing his soul in a very real way just to get a message out. And now that burden falls on you, the player.
You're holding the ring.
You're holding the ring, you have assassins on your tail, and you've got this fanatical monk, Virgil, who just showed up and is telling you you're the reincarnation of some ancient elf god.
Which is a lot of pressure for someone who just survived a plane crash.
No kidding. But like any good detective, you ignore the prophecy for a moment and you follow the physical evidence. The ring says P. Schuyler and Sons.
And that clue points you to one place.
The industrial capital of the world, Tarant.
And the shift in setting here is so important. We go from the wilderness of the crash site, all nature, fog, wild beasts, spirits, to Tarant, which is basically 19th century London on steroids.
Oh, completely. It's smog-choked, it's industrial, it's loud, it's crowded.
It is the city of steam.
And you arrive at 44 Devonshire Way, P. Schuyler and Sons. From the outside, it looks perfectly respectable. It's a high-end jewelry shop. This is where the ring was commissioned.
But this is a noir story. The respectable storefront is never just a storefront, is it?
Never.
It's always a facade.
Always. So you go inside, and you meet a man named James Kingsford. He's the front man. Very slippery guy.
Oily.
Very. He doesn't want to talk. No, we don't know anything about a ring. But you, the detective, you push. Maybe you pick his pocket for a key. Maybe you sweet-talk him. Maybe you just threaten him.
Whatever your particular skills are.
Exactly. But eventually, you get a key to the back room. And in the back room, you find a trapdoor.
A classic trope, the descent into the underworld.
Literally. You go down into the basement, and the entire atmosphere changes completely. It's not just a storage cellar. It is dark, it smells of rot and decay, and it is crawling with zombies.
But not just any zombies. This is the crucial, horrifying detail.
They are dwarven zombies.
It's just sickening, especially after what we just discussed about the sanctity of the dwarven body and the shape. This is the ultimate violation.
So who are these people? Quiche Steiler and Sons.
The Schuyler's, this respectable family of jewelers, aren't just making rings, they're a family of necromancers.
And they built their shop. Where?
Right on top of ancient dwarven tombs.
That's why the dwarven zombies, they're digging them up.
They're digging them up and reanimating them.
But they're not just raising the dead for spooky rituals or to build an undead army. They're using them for manual labor.
It is the most grotesque intersection of dark magic and ruthless capitalism imaginable.
I mean, think about it.
Why pay workers a fair wage when you can raise the dead ancestors of a proud and ancient race and make them haul rocks for you for free?
It's efficient, and it's completely, utterly, morally bankrupt.
And it shows the listener that the evil in Arcanum isn't just a dark lord in a black tower somewhere. It's businessmen in suits who will do anything to cut costs and increase their profit margins.
That is genuinely chilling. It reminds me of Magnus, a potential companion you can meet right outside the shop.
Yes.
He's a dwarf who's looking for his clan's lost history.
Yeah.
And if you bring him down into that basement with you...
Oh, he loses it. And rightfully so. He sees his heritage, his ancestors, being turned into mindless automatons for profit.
It just solidifies the stakes. You're not just fighting monsters. You're fighting a system that commodifies people, even after they're dead.
It's a powerful moment.
So, you fight your way through these undead dwarves, you confront the Schuyler brothers, who are necromancers themselves, and you finally get the information you need.
The ledger.
The ledger confirms it. The ring, the one with the initials GB, was commissioned years ago by the father of Gilbert Bates.
The Gilbert Bates.
The titan of industry, a man who supposedly invented the steam engine.
The richest man in the world.
The richest and most powerful man in all of Arcanum.
We have to pause on the name for a second. Gilbert Bates.
Gil Bates.
Bill Gates. And his chief rival in the story is a man named Cedric Appleby.
Apple. Yeah.
The writers were not being subtle there, were they?
Not at all. But you know what? It's an effective shorthand.
It is.
It tells the listener immediately who this man is. A visionary, a monopolist, a tech giant. He didn't just build a company, he fundamentally changed the operating system of the entire world of Arcanum.
That's a great way of putting it.
So you take your lead to the Bates Mansion. It's this fortress of wealth and technology right in the middle of Tarant. And you have to get in, maybe you sneak past the automatons, maybe you sell out his rival Appleby to get an official invite.
There are a few ways.
But eventually you are face to face with the big man himself, and you show him the ring.
And this is where the character profile of Bates gets really, really interesting. You expect arrogance, maybe?
Yeah.
A ruthless, cutthroat tycoon.
Yeah, you expect him to be dismissive or threatening.
But when he sees that ring, he breaks.
He recognizes it immediately. He tells you the truth. That ring didn't belong to just anyone. It belonged to Stanner Rockcutter.
His friend.
They were childhood friends. Bates is the boy that the dying gnome, the dwarf, was trying to reach with his last breath.
And here comes the confession. The real secret. The entire foundation of Bates's empire, the steam engine, is a lie.
He didn't invent it.
He didn't invent it. He admits to you right there that he borrowed the technology from the Black Mountain clan dwarves.
Borrowed is a very heavy word in that context.
It is. And the dynamic he describes is just fascinating. Bates explains that he was obsessed with dwarves and their technology as a child. He used to hang around the Black Mountain clan's mines.
And he saw them using these machines.
He saw they had these curious little contraptions, small steam pumps that used to move water. To the dwarves, though, these were just toys. They were novelties.
Why, though? Why wouldn't they use them for more? If you have a working steam engine, why not build a train? Why not build a factory?
Because of the fundamental difference in lifespan and perspective between dwarves and humans.
Okay.
Dwarves live for centuries. They are deeply conservative culturally. They value the shape stability, tradition, doing things the way they've always been done. They don't need to rush.
If a project takes 50 years to complete, that's fine.
That's a blink of an eye. They have all the time in the world. Humans. We're the mayflies of this world, as they sometimes call us.
We're short-lived.
We are desperate for legacy, for speed, for progress. We die so quickly, so we feel this intense pressure to build quickly, to make our mark.
So Bates sees this dwarven toy, and he sees an industrial revolution waiting to happen.
Exactly. He took the design. He thought he was proving his worth to the dwarves, to his friend Stenner. He thought, look what I could do with your ideas. Look how I can improve the world.
And he did. He sparked the technological age.
He did. But in doing so, he doomed them.
Because shortly after he released the steam engine to the human world, the entire Black Mountain clan vanished.
Poof. Just gone. Wiped off the map.
And Bates has lived with that guilt for decades.
It has consumed him. He believes his ambition, his theft, directly caused the destruction of his best friend's entire people. He's rich, he's powerful, but he is haunted by the idea that he betrayed Stennar.
That is a heavy, heavy burden. So the detective has a new lead. Bates basically hires you.
Right. He becomes your client.
He wants to know what really happened to the clan. He spent a fortune trying to find them, sending expeditions into their old mines, but no one has ever returned.
So naturally, that's where you have to go next.
The Black Mountain Mines.
And we move from the political intrigue of the city back to a classic dungeon crawl. But the atmosphere is so specific.
It's a ghost town. It's not just an empty cave. It was a home that was abandoned in a terrible hurry.
You can feel that.
Oh, you can. You walk through these massive, silent, dwarven halls, and it's not that they're ruined, it's that they are empty. Dinner is still on the table, it's just turned to dust. Tools are dropped mid-swing.
It evokes the Mary Celeste. A sudden interruption of life. You feel like you've stumbled into a photograph of a tragedy.
So you have to fight through wolves that have moved in. You dodge traps. And let's be honest, dwarven traps in this game are notoriously sadistic.
Oh, they're brutal.
And deep in the bowels of the mountain, you find the only survivor, Goodman Orbender.
The last of the clan. But he's not. He's not all there, is he?
No, he's completely mad, driven crazy by decades of isolation. But before he lost his mind, he left a clue.
The Pillar of Truth.
A literal stone killer where he carved the entire history of what happened to his people.
The writing on the wall.
Literally. And what does it say?
It flips the entire script.
Yeah.
Bates thought his technology somehow got them all killed. But the pillar reveals they weren't killed at all.
They were banished.
Banished.
Banished. By who? Who has the power to banish an entire clan of dwarves?
Other dwarves. The banishment was decreed by the Wheel Clan, the ruling clan of all dwarves.
Okay, so it was an internal affair.
Not entirely. They didn't do it alone. The carving suggests they were coerced. The banishment was decreed by the Wheel Clan, but it was enforced, or rather requested, by the elves.
Whoa, wait a minute. The elves?
The elves.
The tree-hugging, magic-wielding, technology-hating elves worked with the master-smith dwarves to get rid of an entire clan of other dwarves. That sounds completely counterintuitive.
They usually hate each other's guts. It signals a conspiracy of the absolute highest order. For the elves and the ruling Wheel Clan to collaborate on something this drastic, the threat must have been perceived as existential.
So the investigation pivots again. You need to find the Wheel Clan to get the real answers. But they're famously reclusive.
Impossible to find.
Bates suggests you follow a different lead, a long shot. The lead that takes you to the Isle of Despair.
Which is exactly what it sounds like, isn't it?
It's a penal colony, a prison island where the world dumps its unwanted, its criminals, its political prisoners.
The end of the line.
You catch a ride with a sea captain named Teacha, another great character, a very salty sea dog type, and you arrive at this bleak, miserable rock in the middle of the ocean.
And you're looking for one specific dwarf.
A dwarf named Thorvald Two Stones. He's the alpha of the prison, the top dog.
And getting to him is a classic prison movie setup. You have to get past the main guard, Ogden, a half-ogre who runs the place.
Right.
Maybe you have to fight in the pit to prove you're tough enough. Maybe you talk your way in, do a favor for someone. But you need to see Thorvald.
And when you finally find him, he confirms he's from the Wheel Clan, but he's been locked up for so long he doesn't know anything about the Black Mountain Clan's disappearance.
A dead end.
Almost. He gives you the key to finding his home, or rather, the spectacles.
Wheel Clan spectacles,
Yeah.
made of Cawthorn crystal. This is such a brilliant little detail in the quest design.
I agree. Why glasses? Why not a map? Or a magical key?
Because the Wheel Clan doesn't hide their city with a big stone door. They hide it with magic, with optical illusions.
So you literally cannot see the entrance with the naked eye.
Exactly. It's right there in front of you, but it's veiled. You need a technological aid, or in this case, a crystal magical aid, to pierce that veil.
It perfectly reinforces that theme of hidden knowledge, doesn't it?
It does. The truth is right there, but you need the right lens, the right perspective to be able to see it.
That is so cool. So you get the glasses. Maybe you have to have them made in the city of Ashbury if you can't get Thorvald's actual pair, and you trek back to the Stonewall Range.
Back to where the game began, in a way.
Right near the crash site, you put on the glasses, and suddenly a solid rock wall just dissolves. It shimmers, and you see the entrance. You walk into the Wheel Clan.
The clan of clans, the hidden heart of dwarven civilization.
You meet the king-in-waiting, a dwarf named Ranvar. But he's not the king. He tells you his father, the true king, Loghaire Thunderstone, is still alive but is in exile.
A self-imposed exile. He's living in the dredge, the lowest, deepest depths of the mines.
This feels very King Lear or something. The old king, broken by guilt, just hiding away in the dark.
It is very Shakespearean.
Mm-hmm.
And when you fight your way down to him, past all the monsters that have infested the depths, you finally get the why. You get the motive for the entire crime.
Why did King Loghaire banish an entire clan of his own people?
Because the elves of Kantara, and specifically their leader, the Silver Lady, gave him an ultimatum.
They threatened war.
Yes. But not for land or for gold or any of the usual reasons. They threatened war for their very survival.
How so?
The elves claimed that the technology the Black Mountain Clan had given to Gilbert Bates, the scheme engines that were now spreading across the human world, was killing the world.
Okay, so they were worried about pollution, smog, deforestation.
It goes so much deeper than that. We have to look at the core metaphysics of the Arcanum setting. In this world, magic and technology are fundamentally opposed forces.
Not just culturally, but physically.
Physically, technology relies on predictable, repeatable physical laws. Physics, chemistry, cause and effect. Magic, on the other hand, relies on bending those laws. It relies on subverting reality through willpower.
So they don't play nice together.
They actively repel each other. They're like oil and water. If you have too much technology in one place, like a factory full of steam engines, magic itself begins to fail. Spells fizzle out. The hum of the magical universe gets drowned out by the gear grinding of physics.
So the elves weren't just worried about dirty air. They were worried that the spread of human technology would literally erase magic from the world.
Exactly. They were fighting for their metaphysical survival. Their very nature was being threatened by the march of progress. So they went to King Loghaire and said, "Stop the Black Mountain Clan from spreading this tech. Stop at source, or we go to war."
And a war between the dwarves, the masters of tech, and the elves, the masters of magic.
It would have been the apocalypse. It would have torn the continent apart.
So Loghaire made a choice. The classic needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few.
He agreed to banish one clan, his own people, to the void to save the entire world from a cataclysmic war.
But the guilt of that decision completely broke him.
It destroyed him. He betrayed his shape. He betrayed the stone. That's why he's hiding in the dredge. He cannot face his people because, in his own mind, he feels he is no longer a dwarf. He committed the ultimate sin in order to save them all.
That is incredibly complex. It makes the elves look, well, ruthless. They effectively demanded a genocide, a banishment, to protect their own way of life.
It forces you, the player, to ask a really tough question. Are the elves the good guys in this story? Or are they just another flavor of tyrant, willing to sacrifice anyone to preserve their own power?
So we finally know that the Black Mountain Clan was banished. But banished to where? Exactly what is the void?
It's another dimension. A prison plane. Supposedly a one-way trip.
But here's the bridge to the next chapter of the mystery, isn't it? The investigation isn't over. You learn that the Black Mountain Clan weren't just thrown into this prison dimension. They were sent there to do something.
They were sent there to build something.
A machine.
A machine. In the void.
Who would make them do that?
The Dark Elves, who we start to learn are pulling strings behind the scenes, needed the unparalleled skill of dwarven smiths to build a device for them. A device to break the barrier between worlds.
And this brings us full circle, all the way back to Stenor, the gnome from the crash.
The only man to ever escape the void. He didn't just stumble out by accident. He used the very machine the dwarves were being forced to build. He escaped to warn us.
Warn us about what, though?
Well, everyone on the surface thinks the big threat is Aranax, the ancient elven boogeyman, the Lucifer figure of this world's mythology.
Right.
But the sources, and Stenor's warning, hint at something else. Someone else. A necromancer named Kurgan.
Kurgan.
The man behind the man. The real villain. Stenor saw something in the void. He saw Kurgan's true plan, and it terrified him enough to shave his beard and die in a burning zeppelin just to pass a ring to a complete stranger.
And that leads us to the next step in the investigation. The trail moves from the industrial grit of the dwarves and their minds to the high fantasy political intrigue of the elves. You have to go to Kuntara.
You have to confront the Silver Lady herself.
We're moving from a detective noir story to a political thriller.
A perfect transition.
So let's just recap this incredible mystery. We started with a Zeppelin crash and a single silver ring.
We uncovered a conspiracy where an industrial tycoon, a titan of industry, built his entire empire on stolen technology.
We found a respectable-looking jewelry shop that was actually a front for a zombie labor camp run by necromancers.
We discovered a hidden Cold War between elves and dwarves that resulted in an entire clan of people being banished to another dimension to avert an apocalypse.
And we found a broken king hiding in the dark, absolutely crushed by the guilt of having to make that impossible choice.
It's a narrative that is fundamentally about consequences. Bates just wanted to build things and make progress. He didn't realize it would lead to a cultural and magical crisis.
And Loghair just wanted peace for his people and the world. He didn't know it would cost him his own soul.
And Stan a rock cutter. He just wanted to save his friends from a terrible fate.
And that brings us to the final thought, the thing to really chew on.
Going.
If Stenner, a dwarf who valued his beard, his very identity, more than his own life, was willing to shave it all off just to deliver a warning, what exactly did he see in the void? What could possibly be that terrifying?
That's the question that keeps you pushing forward. And the follow-up is this. If the elves were willing to condemn hundreds of dwarves to eternal exile, just stop a steam engine, what else are they capable of to preserve their way of life?
The line between hero and villain in Arcanum is very, very thin.
Sometimes it's not there at all.
Keep your steam engines running and your hexes ready. We'll see you in the forest next time.